Fast and the Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw is the 9th film in the Fast and Furious franchise, and this is a spin-off that focuses on the characters Hobbs and Shaw. Luke Hobbs is played by Dwayne Johnson, and Deckard Shaw is played by Jason Statham. They must work together to stop Brixton Lore, played by Idris Elba, from obtaining a virus. Hattie, played by Vanessa Kirby, is Deckard Shaw's sister, and she is also in the movie. And it's just crazy to me what this Fast and Furious franchise has become. It started off with Brian and Dom. Brian was a cop working undercover, and then it just became like government movies, and they haven't really focused on cars since like Tokyo Drift. Now we get Brixton Lore, who is like a cyborg, and it's just absolutely crazy what the franchise has become. Going into this movie, I expected cheesiness, I expected over-the-top action, I expected banter between Hobbs and Shaw, and I got all of that. If you could go into this movie expecting that cheesiness and banter and over-the-top action, you will enjoy the film. I'm not going to lie though when I say that I expected a little more. I am a huge Fast and the Furious fan. I've enjoyed the franchise since it started way back in the early 2000s. And every time I saw the Hobbs and Shaw trailer, I laughed. I thought this looks absolutely crazy and so stupid. I can't wait to see it. I was anticipating this movie more than Star Wars Episode 9. So going into the movie, I expected just crazy action scenes and over-the-top moments, and yes, I felt like I did get some of that, but I'm not going to lie when I say I wanted more action scenes. I wanted more over-the-top cheesiness from this movie, because a lot of the movie, the action scenes do feel believable for a Fast and the Furious franchise. There are some ridiculous moments towards the end of the film, but maybe it's because I saw the trailer so many times and I felt like I was spoiled with the movie. A lot of the action scenes you do see in the movie are in the trailer, so I felt like I've seen them so much, I wanted something new for the movie, and I didn't get that. The Fast and Furious movies have gotten bigger and bigger with each entry, with the Fate of the Furious having a submarine, and so how can you top that and make something even more epic? I felt like the Hobbs and Shaw movie had some good over-the-top moments, but I wanted more. I wanted more crazy action. Maybe that's just because I'm a huge Fast and the Furious fan and I wanted to see something, different from the trailers and different from the other movies, but I still did enjoy the action scenes that I did get. Moving on to Hobbs and Shaw. They had them in the Fate of the Furious movie. They had their banter, and they didn't want to work together. That continues over into this movie. Most of the beginning of the movie spends them arguing with each other, and they don't want to work with each other, and then they have to get over that because they're working on saving Hattie and getting this virus. So the banter between them is constantly going. Even when they're working together, they're still arguing with each other. And at times I find it to be really funny. At times I find it to be a little bit repetitive and kind of like I'm done with it. I want to see them just kind of get over it and work with each other, and that be it. But the banter was a lot of fun. Some of the jokes between each other did work, and I laughed out loud. But I think at a certain point I felt like it was getting old and I wanted to move forward. Vanessa Kirby is great in her role. She's very capable of handling things herself. I liked her addition to the franchise. She's a great actress. I loved her in Mission Impossible Fallout. She definitely worked as Deckard Shaw's sister, and I thought that her and The Rock had some pretty good chemistry. It brought a softer side to Luke Hobbs, what we haven't really seen before. The only time we get like that softer side to Luke Hobbs is when he's interacting with his daughter, but we have a softer side to Luke Hobbs now with Hattie throwing in the mix because they have some really good chemistry, and I'd like to see them two work together again. Brixton Lore is the villain in the movie. He's played by Idris Elba, and I felt like he's just very generic. I mean, it was cool to see Idris Elba in an action Fast and the Furious movie, but I really felt like that role could have been played by anybody. It just felt very generic. Cool, very strong guy, but didn't really do anything to make it a memorable character. The franchise's theme of family is very relevant in the movie. It's a theme that is touched upon a lot in this movie. The franchise has done a good job of bringing different sides, different families together to make one mega family, I guess. If you see in the trailer, you have Hobbs' family, and then you also have Hattie, who is Deckard Shaw's sister, so there's two different families. And I really enjoyed the end of the film when they brought both families together and they were working towards saving the world. I like how Hobbs' family kind of brought Deckard Shaw into their family. I enjoyed those moments. And it ended with a big bang and a setup for a sequel if they wanted to do another Hobbs and Shaw film. Overall, Hobbs and Shaw was a very entertaining film. A lot of banter between the characters that did work. The action is over the top, it's crazy, it doesn't make any sense, but I expected a little more action, a little more over the top, because in the beginning of the film, it's a lot of setup, like what is Shaw doing, what is Hobbs doing, let's get both of them together, they don't want to work with each other, let's introduce Hattie, let's introduce Brixton Lore, and then have that one big action scene to really start the movie. And that wasn't until maybe 30 minutes into the movie. I wanted to see a little more action early on and just more over the top, because every action scene I did see in the movie, I saw in the trailer. There was nothing new, and I wanted to see a little something. I want to see something a little different. Maybe it's because I saw the trailer every single time I went to the movie, and that maybe spoiled it. But still, it's an entertaining film. This movie works for the characters. And at times I felt like it wasn't a Fast and the Furious movie. I forgot it was a Fast and the Furious movie. I felt like that with Tokyo Drift, because we don't get Dom and Letty and Mia and Han and Roman Pierce and Tej. We don't get them in this movie. We have Hobbs and Shaw. Now, this movie works for these characters because these characters aren't the ones who started the franchise. They're not racing cars in the streets and stealing gasoline and products off of trucks. They have their own stories, and this story works for these characters, but at times I felt like it wasn't a Fast and the Furious movie. I heard the name Hobbs, I heard the name Shaw, I heard the name Nobody, and so on paper it is a Fast and the Furious movie, but at times I felt like it wasn't a Fast and the Furious movie. I didn't feel that connection to the previous entries, and I know it wanted to be its own standalone movie, but the story definitely worked for Hobbs and Shaw in bringing them together. I'm gonna go ahead and give The Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw a B-. Have you guys seen the new Fast and Furious film, Hobbs and Shaw? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. Stay tuned this weekend. I got a ranking for the movies and a couple tier lists coming your way. My name is Just Watch Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.